Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
Who is the rudest celeb you have met? What happened? Tommy Lee Jones. I was working as a security guard on the movie shoot for The Hunted. My second week on the job, I was posted in front of Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro's trailers on this side street in a residential area. Basically just stand there all day and make sure nobody fucks with anything. Day one was fine. I was there all day and never saw Tommy Lee Jones. Benicio came and went throughout the day and was super nice. He even came out and had a chat once. It was a trip because I had just seen him on TV the prior week accepting an Oscar. I congratulated him on that and he was thankful. Just seemed like an alright dude that wasn't all up his own ass. Day 2 was a different story. I come in at 10 a.m. and relieve the overnight person. I'm standing there and this dog comes trotting up to me. Super friendly. I assumed it was a neighborhood dog that got out. It just kind of hung out with me for about 20 minutes until an SUV comes flying down the street and stops right before the barricade. I see an old man hop out of the back. He points and yells, "Hey," and is walking toward me with a purpose. Get the fuck away from my dog. It's at this point that I realize it's Tommy Lee Jones. I put my hands up and I say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was your dog." I don't know if he heard me, but he walked right up to me with his driver right behind him ready to pull him back if he has to. He puts his finger in my chest and says, "Why is she out?" Who let my dog out? I tried to tell him she was out when I got there and I had no idea it was even his dog, but I was only 20 and just completely scared out of my mind, so I was stuttering and stammering and he kept interrupting me demanding answers. By then a few more of his people had gathered around and someone got a hold of my boss. Then my phone rang and it was my boss telling me to just go home for the day and it would get handled. I went home and called him later asking if I should still come in tomorrow. He said, "Nope, you don't work here anymore." I tried explaining everything, but there was no getting through. So Tommy Lee Jones got me fired from a job for something I was not responsible for. This story made me the angriest in this thread for some reason, lol. It's infuriating because his dog was actually safer because of the poster there watching out for him. You don't work here anymore. What an asshole thing to say. Your boss must have been saving that up for a special occasion. Nah, this is Hollywood. His boss probably used that lines at least 4 times that day with other people he had to fire because Tommy, or some other fuck-up rich prick, had to power trip someone. Jones was super rude to Jim Carrey while filming Batman. You can look it up in YouTube. Jim isn't shy about telling the story. He was literally mad at him for acting goofy. Fucking mad at Jim Carrey for being funny. This happened in the early 1990s. I handled security at a large corporate hotel in a Canadian city. Any big-name group that performed in our city stayed at our hotel. I was escorting Dolly, Parton and Kenny Rogers from the guest floor to the lobby for their limo one morning at 0430. I am 6 feet 5 inches and when Ms. Parton approached me as I stood outside of the elevator, she said, in her sweet Southern Belle voice, "You'll sure grow, big up here in Canada." She touched my arm in a friendly manner. She was just as sweet as pie. I blushed and instantly forgot everything about my job. Kenny did not even look at me as he boarded the elevator. I had put the elevator into individual use so it would stay on the floor with the doors open, but taken the keys with me. When it was time to descend to the lobby, in my flustered state I had forgotten which of the roughly 30 keys on the ring controlled that elevator, despite having worked there for several years. There was a long pause while I searched the key ring, key by key, 2 or 3 times. Kenny was glaring at me the whole time, barely concealed rage bubbling just under the surface. I finally found the right key, but when I went to put the elevator back into group service, in my haste I fumbled and dropped the keys. Kenny made a louder exasperated sound, but Dolly came to my defense, touching my arm again and saying, "Sugar, you just take your time, we're in no hurry." Kenny made another noise but Dolly shushed him. We eventually made it to the lobby and I escorted him to the carport and their waiting limo. Kenny never even looked at me as he walked out the door and got into the car. Dolly, however, stopped to chat with me for a bit, thanking me and then tipped me a $100 USD bill. That was more than I made in a day back then. She did the same for the bellman who had brought their luggage down. Total class act. That was my most favorite and least favorite celebrity at the same time. When I started reading, I thought, no, not Dolly. She's too sweet to be mean. Glad I wasn't disappointed. She seems like a very genuine and down-to-earth person. Dolly would never! Exclamation mark. For the last 40 years of my mom's life, anytime anything about Kenny Rogers came up in her presence she would make a disgusting face and say that asshole. So she would love your story. Rip Mom. Can confirm, was a jerk. Source, family involved in the Nashville music scene, met him a few times. He was ugly to my grandma. Who does that? The rudest celebrity I ever met was Jack Nicholson. I asked him for an autograph and he growled at me that he only signs autographs for chicks with huge tits. Flip side, nicest celebrity I ever met was Lemmy from Motörhead. I was at a bar and he sat down beside me. I was in awe and stammered out, "Let me buy you a drink." He said, "Nah, you can't do that." I was a little dejected and hung my head. He immediately burst out in laughter and said, "Kid, I'm a goddamned rock star. Let me buy you a drink." I then spent the night with Lemmy buying me Long Island iced tea while we talked about 60s British science fiction. Every story I've heard of Lemmy is him being the most generous person. Because Lemmy was the Dolly of metal. When you are genuinely a good person, it shines through all the veils of separation and you are visible as the person you were before the fame. I think of this interview with Lemmy a lot. He talked about his first tour of America and he said that America was so beautiful that if he had been born here, he would have never become a rocker because he would have been too happy. William Shatner said he would give me an autograph in Hawaii when I was about 10. He said, "Lemmy, get a pen," got in his limo and drove off. He's known for attending Comic-Con panels and, I guess the second he hits his scheduled time limit, he will just stop talking mid-sentence and mid-story and just wave and leave. I wish I could do this in work meetings. Man, that's mean, but I gotta be honest. It's a little funny, too. I hung out with Charles Barkley once in Philly and for some reason he took a liking to me and was very candid and open. He told me you have to be nice to every single person you meet and it can be exhausting, but if you meet 100 people and are nice to 99 but not to one, then that one will bash you and tell everyone what a terrible person you are and people will believe them. Awesome guy. This is the best thing you will ever read about Charles Barkley. Stand up guy. https://www.wbur.org/onlyagames/2018/12/14/lin-wang-charles-barkley. Wasn't expecting Charles Barkley to make me cry today. Thank you for sharing. Was walking to the restroom while at a work dinner and walked past his table. He saw me do a double take, got up from his table, walked up to me, and said, "Yeah, it's me. What's up?" and offered a handshake. We talked for a few minutes and he asked what we had going on in the meeting room at the restaurant. Told him what I did for work and that it was great to meet him, but that I appreciated his time and didn't want to keep him from his group. Went to the restroom and made my way back to the meeting room. A few minutes later, he just walked into the meeting room and hung out with everyone for a while. Let everyone take pics and went on his way. Super nice fella. I used to live in the same city as Tommy Lee Jones, and there was a point in time where if you worked in the service industry you either had your own story about him or knew someone who did. I have a few of my own. Celebrity or not, he is, hands down, one of the rudest people I've ever come across. Very demanding and hateful, he looks down on service workers and treats them like shit but at the same time expects them to simultaneously 1. Know who he is, 2. Not acknowledge who he is, but 3. Give him special treatment because of who he is. Well, I'm convinced he wins the Arsehole Award in this thread based on the amount of times he's mentioned tears of joy. I have some clients that interact with celebs and I get fun stories. One client is a private pilot. He said the loveliest he's flown is Green Day. Like, he just went on and on about how sweet and genuine and thankful they are. He said Mike Pence was extremely polite, a true gentleman even though he can't stand his politics. He said Ariana Grande was a raging cunt and literally one of the worst people he's ever met. Crashed his plane. Insanely rude and demanding. He refuses to fly her anymore. I have a few clients that work in film. My god, do they love working with Nicolas Cage. Very professional and extremely personal. Likes to have deep conversations and connect with everyone on set and remembers everyone's names. I love hearing Nick Cage stories. Cage isn't merely nice, he seems genuinely interested in every human interaction he has. He treats his co-stars and director the same as a grip or waiter or local onlooker. I think he just loves being alive, is grateful to meet people anywhere, and truly appreciates anyone who appreciates his work. From everything I've heard, he's basically a crazy Keanu. I suspect Cage considers every encounter with another person to be a learning experience. And it seems to show in his acting. Every film I ever saw him in, big or small, he seems to make the experience worthwhile for the audience. Seems like he'd be an intriguing friend to have in real life. Deleted. I met Jared Leto in Nashville in the early 2000s with my female friend who was very attractive and also 16. Didn't stop J-Dog from asking her if she wants to go fuck in the first few minutes of meeting. She declined and was very grossed out by it, so we left. True story. Someone else in this thread said Leto was interested in a friend and the friend declined him and he was not happy about it. Dude seems creepy. Edit. I commented below already that yeah, he is creepy as fuck. Don't know why I said seems lol. Jesus Christ, there are so many stories about Jared Leto being a sexual predator. We seem to be in the midst of an era of every celebrity who had salacious rumors circulating about them 15 to 20 years ago that people have forgotten about being busted for running sex cults. Meanwhile, Jared Leto is a massive sex pest, is a pedophile, runs a sex cult, has been an open secret for a decade or more, and yet this dude is still getting insanely high-profile roles and it never seems to come up. How the hell has this dude avoided an actual investigation? Pretty much every single story I hear about the guy interacting with fans is, oh yeah, he tried to fuck me, my friend, when we were like 15 inches, but there's been zero official press about it. Dude must have dirt on like everyone in Hollywood. Open secret for a decade. At least 2 decades. I hope he gets what he deserves someday. I've always enjoyed that scene in Fight Club where his character gets his face beaten to a pulp. Good stuff.